Welcome to day 2 of the 7 days to a greener website challenge. We are just moving right along. I hope yesterday was quick and easy for you. If you have not done day 1 stuff yet, I encourage you to go back. Day 2 will not be as helpful until you have completed step 1. So make sure that you do these in order. But if you are all ready to go, let's talk about day 2. So today is really all about auditing your home pages images. They're the things that we're going to be optimizing, and in order to know how to optimize them, or if you need to, we need to know where they stand right now. The saying less is more really applies to web design, along with a lot of aspects of life and other design, but with websites, it really is so important. We tend to add and add and add to our websites, but not as much as subtract. So today is really about seeing what images you have, finding out their information. Maybe they're a little bit too big of file sizes, or maybe they don't need to be on your website at all. If you end up not deleting any, that is totally okay, but I just want you to take that time to think about, is this image on my website actually helping my message? Bloated websites, they load slower, they end up with worse SEO, they lead to more bounces and just ultimately more frustrated users, and they're less accessible. So that is really why we are doing what we are doing today and throughout this whole challenge. So without further ado, you can either follow along step by step in the PDF or stick around, and there will be a video walkthrough of how to audit your images. Right, welcome to the day 2 step-by-step instructions. So I have the day 2 PDF open. If you haven't downloaded it yet, go ahead and download it. Basically, this will walk you through some of the same steps if you learn better through PDF versus video. And it's really meant to be a quick reference after the fact too, if you need the video, and then to come back to it. So the main page that we're going to need in this, if you're following this video walkthrough, is going to be this last page, where you will find a table where you can input all of your image data. And then I will walk you through how to find all of this stuff. So once you have this open, if you have 2 screens, I recommend keeping this up on one and then your website on the other. If you have 1 screen, you can split half and half or go back and forth, which is what I'm going to do. So once you have this open, then you'll want to also have your home page of your website open up in Chrome. And I recommend Chrome because the developer tools are top notch, and there is a Chrome plugin that you will need today. And that plugin is called View Image Info. If you don't already have that installed, there is a link below to get that installed. And you should also find it in the PDF packet. So to really optimize your homepage, first we need to have all this image info. So that's what we're going to be doing. I recommend starting at the top of your web page and then working your way down. So usually that's going to be like your logo. My logo is coded as an SVG, and I know that that's fully optimized, so I'm going to skip it because that is code. And same with this blue raspberry right here. That is also coded as an SVG. So I cannot do those steps for these, but that's okay. So I'm going to scroll down to my first image, which is this right here of the herb garden designs that I did. And we're going to right click on it, click on this view image info properties, and it will bring up a pop-up that will tell you the location. So if you click on this, it'll like open a new tab, the dimensions of the image, and then also what it gets scaled to, what type of image, the file size, and then its alt tag. The things that you want to grab from here are first its image name, which you can either take based on its location, what you named it when you uploaded it, or you can name it something that is more descriptive to it visually. So for me personally, I'm going to kind of skip what this name is, because that doesn't mean as much to me as if I just call it the herb garden work. So the image name is really for your reference only. So name it something that you're going to know, not the herb garden, the herb garden work. Okay. Next, every other well, not quite every other. So file type you can also grab from here. So this is a JPEG. It's relative size. So that is going to be where you are going to have to do some judgment calls. So let me go back to my website. So with relative size, what you're really looking at is relative to the screen and your web page as a whole. So this one I would call a full size image, like full screen. I would recommend sticking with full screen, half screen, quarter screen, third screen, anything that's really a tangible fraction, because we're going to need that tomorrow to really understand how to optimize fully. There are going to be some that fall into weird categories, like these 3 images right here don't fall into any of that. So you can just say like less than a quarter or like icon size, whatever makes sense to you, but I would recommend sticking with the proportions as much as you can. So for this one, I am going to put in full screen. And then dimensions, you're also going to grab from the view image property, and you want these dimensions, not the scaled to. Just grab the dimensions that the image is actually saved and uploaded as, because that you can control much more, whereas the scaled to is going to change depending on how wide your browser is. So I'm going to put in the 1920 by 480. And then the last thing you'll need to grab from this plugin is the file size in kilobytes. And I'm going to copy and paste that. Perfect. So that's what you need to do for each image. And then the last part that is your judgment call is this little delete checkbox right here. That's basically if, as you go through this, and you don't need to do this image by image, you can input all your images and then go back through, but just think like, is this image actually helping my web page? If it's not, I would recommend checking this delete button, because then you can go back through once you're optimizing and just fully delete it out. For me, that's not the case with this image. This image is very necessary because it shows my work right away on my home page. And yeah, so that's why I recommend maybe going back through at the end to say, okay, is this actually adding something? I'm going to walk through a second image with you, because not every single image is going to be as easy as this one. And really, the images that are going to be harder are ones for me that are coded and clipped with SVG. And then other ones that I run into issues with are background images, especially if you have a Squarespace website. All of your background images you're going to have to find through Google Dev Tools, and I will show you how to do that right now. So I will navigate back to my home page. I'm going to skip over this one because it's done the exact same way as this first one, and we're going to scroll down to this. So if I right click here, you'll notice that I do not have the options for view image info. So it's just going to be a little trickier to grab this. So what you're going to want to do is right click and click on inspect. And then from here, you can grab this little arrow in the upper left. It'll say select an element in the page to inspect it. It's also Control-Shift-C. I'm assuming on Apple it'll be Command-Shift-C, but don't take my word for that. And you'll want to select it and then click on the image. And here in this code, I will find where it exists, and I can take that. I'll need to input it in Bluegrass Design /images/home services. Ooh. If I had it spelled correctly, we would have it. Technical difficulties. Okay, so once you have it all input in to this URL, so if you end up like me and you only have this images /whatever .jpeg or .whatever your image is, then you will basically just have to have your homepage URL and then input a slash and then hit paste. I forgot the slash, and that's where I went wrong. But if you're linking to something else, like maybe with Squarespace, it's hosted on Squarespace, so it's linked differently, you might just have to copy and paste and do that. But yeah, once that image is open, then you can right click on it and this view image info comes up. And then you'll pull the information from there. Yeah, so those are kind of the two main scenarios that you're going to run into. If you run into any issues, Google is always helpful with inspecting element finding things. Always feel free to reach out to me. But you're just going to continue that until you get all the way down through your home page and get all of your images listed in here. Once you have all of your images, you feel good, you've gone through, you've decided, okay, maybe I want to delete this one. If you don't want to delete any of them, that's totally fine. I just always like to say, consider it, because we have a tendency to add to our web pages and never subtract. And sometimes subtracting helps. So yeah, go through that, save this in a place that you can easily find, and we will be referencing it tomorrow in day 3.